Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to our True Wealth virtual classroom. We've been putting together a lot of topics and for these virtual classroom workshops, different topics, different structures. We're trying to do that so that you can receive some additional educational resources. And there's a lot of topics that we do that for, but the one that seems to generate the highest number of questions for us at Pinnacle Wealth is Social Security. Will it be there when I need it? When should I take it? What are my options? And there's just so many other questions that come from Social Security. So this month we decided, let's focus on it. Let's take a look at Social Security and just give you a little bit more of a basic understanding of how Social Security is. Remembering that your benefits, when you should take them, how you should take them, relates to your own personal financial plan. It is as individual as your thumbprint. So what your benefit will be is based on your earnings record. When you should take them will depend on what other financial planning tools and resources that you've done over your lifetime. All that is important. So it's just not as easy as when should I take them? Here's the date. You really got to look at the numbers and make an educated decision based on your particular game plan. And we're going to help you get there. But today's topic, Social Security. Hi, everyone. Again, this is Kevin Engbers, founder, CEO, and wealth advisor at Pinnacle Wealth here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Just want to make sure, again, that little housekeeping details. If you're attending this in a live format, remember that there are icons in your upper left-hand side of your screen. Make sure you click through them. You're going to be able to at least submit questions there. You can download the presentation itself from there. There's going to be some excellent PDF resources. There's a great workbook or an informational workbook on Social Security. There's some great just facts that you should know. And again, as our previous classroom workshops as well, we really, for compliance reasons, cannot answer your questions in a live format, but you can submit them to this and we will get you an answer back to your questions within 24 to 48 hours. That's our goal. If you happen to be watching this because you're looking at it through our website or one of our other social medias or our YouTube channel or whatever it may be, again, you can just send us an email at info@pinnacle, PINNACLE, wealth, WEALTH.com. That's info@pinnaclewealth.com. And either ask us to send you the resources, which we would be happy to do, or submit your question to us, and we'll generate your question even though it may be after the date of this presentation. We'd be happy to be that trusted resource for advice, financial advice for you. If you want to just call us, you can do that too. Call us at 605-271-6023 or 866-575-2500 and just ask to speak to one of our advisors, or, hey, I have some questions on Social Security and I'm watching the presentation. Can I speak to the presenter? We'd be happy to get connected right away. So there's just a lot of things that we're going to go through. Today's agenda, we're going to talk about the basics of Social Security. How did it get started? What was its intentions? And then collecting Social Security. When do I do that? When am I eligible to do that? What are the important timelines for Social Security? And then how do I maximize my benefit? How does that to get the most out of the system for me and my family? That's the goal. So we're going to go through that agenda. We're going to start by looking at the basics of Social Security. And to do that, we go back to the ABCs. So how does that work? Well, 64 million people are currently receiving Social Security benefits every year. 54 million of those are retirees and their families or their survivors. There's also we're going to talk specifically about the old age or the retirement benefits side of things, but there's also the disability benefits and then the survivor benefits. There are actually three different buckets on how they calculate things, or how the funds are, where they're coming from. But that's just a little bit of a breakdown. Now, Social Security replaces about 40% of the average wage earner's income in retirement. Most financial advisors, us specifically, but others as well, say that retirees need approximately 80% or more of their income to live in retirement. Now, part of that becomes we're assuming, you're not saving or investing anymore. That's where the difference of the 80% comes from 100, or your mortgage is part of that as well. So that's just kind of a rule of thumb. Your specific situation might be different, and again, we can determine that in your financial plan. Full retirement age currently for people is 67, depending on, we're looking at those that are born in 1960 and after. And so anybody who was born today, that's currently the retirement benefit. That's why we have that number. But depending on when you were born, your eligibility is different. Early retirement starts at age 62 for everyone. Okay. And then there is a survivor benefits, which applies to spouses who are age 60 and who are have children under age 18. One other thing just to note is collecting Social Security does not prevent you or prohibit you from earning outside income. The question will be, will that affect your benefits, and what does that do to you tax-wise? So those are good. Those are some questions that we want to make sure we answer. Let's dig in a little deeper. So what is the history of Social Security? Well, President Franklin Roosevelt signed into law August 14th, 1935, the Social Security system and benefit program. The minimum monthly benefit at that time was $10, and the maximum benefit you could receive was $85. Now, cost of living was a lot less as well, but still, you can see what that's done over time. The earliest that you could start receiving your benefit was age 65. And you could do earlier claiming, that was added later. So originally they didn't allow you to claim early. That was the earliest that you could get benefits when it was signed into law, was age 65. The cool thing to note, or the interesting thing to note, life expectancy at that time in 1935 when they signed that into law was 61. If you exclude infant mortality, it's actually 65 and 8 months. So what did they think was going to happen? They assumed you couldn't start collecting benefits until you were age 65, but they were banking that the average life expectancy was only 8 months longer than that. So they really weren't projecting or planning on needing to pay those benefits out for the current life expectancy of what we're doing. So that's one of the reasons why the system is having a little bit of trouble. And the other is, not to get political, but certainly if there wasn't the unfunded liabilities or what the government had borrowed in the form of an IOU from Social Security, that too would help provide some solvency to the system. But that money is out on a loan, so let's not talk about that. Let's just look at, again, how Social Security benefits are defined. And I'm going to come back to this slide on when you can apply benefits, because there's some interesting things to note. So how are Social Security benefits defined? How much you earned over your working career is what your benefit will be calculated on. And that's why your benefit is specific to you, because it depends on what you were earning over those years. I always, we'll run into situations. You've got two relationships where one of them was in agriculture and the other worked just an 8-to-5 job, receiving an income for that. Well, the individual in agriculture, they have a lot of ways to reduce their income through deductions, depreciation on equipment, and expenses. Well, again, what happened then is I had these two brothers, and one says, how come he's getting way more than I am? Well, it's because he paid more into the system. He wasn't trying to always just pay the minimum amount of income throughout the years. So not that I'm encouraging all of us to pay the highest income tax rate. That isn't it. But that's how it goes into the calculation. It's based on your earnings. Now, the age at which you apply for benefits, like I said, originally the earliest you could claim was age 65. Now you can claim as early as age 62. But waiting to the full retirement of income, which again is we're assuming is age 67, it can have long-term benefits. The spousal benefits, there's extra money that's allocated to married couples, and it's impacted again by retirement age. And then the last thing, survivor benefits, there's a reassessment of benefits to help a surviving spouse, which really is if they have dependent children. The other benefit as a spousal benefit for a deceased person is not available till age 60, but if you have children under the age of 18, they are eligible for a benefit, and that's recalculated based on the deceased person's wage levels. And it usually ranges from about 75 to 100%. Okay, moving on. So let's dispel some of the myths about Social Security. For example, I have heard you can't work and receive benefits. That's not true. You are required to take them at 65. No, you can actually let them defer until age 70. And Social Security is going broke. Well, that could be arguable, but let's talk about that. To elaborate, the Social Security Trust Fund could be depleted by 2035 if they don't make any other adjustments prior to that date. However, as it is primarily funded with payroll taxes, it's projected that about 79% of the benefits, actually I've heard an updated number of about 75% of the benefits could be continued being paid at current levels. So for example, anybody, those both already on Social Security and those that are getting ready to apply for benefits, if the Social Security Trust Fund is out of funds, it has been determined that approximately everybody's benefit will be 75% of what they were entitled to, which, again, they have to make some adjustments to Social Security to keep it more solvent than that. If there is a certain level of our population that if they get a 25% haircut in their income and Social Security was their only source of retirement income, we're going to have a different set of economic problems that we're going to have to deal with. But it's a political time bomb and a political bomb nobody wants to really hold in their hands, so it kind of keeps getting kicked down the road. The decision then becomes if the fund runs out of money at that point in time, the decision then becomes, do they reduce the benefits or do they increase taxes? And for many retirees, just having the confidence that although the Social Security Trust Fund may be depleted, the benefits can still be paid. And that's kind of important to hear. But it's the one branch, ironically, of the government or the one element of the government or area of the government that can't go into further debt. Unfortunately, the Social Security has a debt against it because as I said, there's these unfunded liabilities because the government in previous years had borrowed the Social Security surplus out and took it in the form of an IOU. That number is about 140 or 150 trillion, I think, is unfunded liabilities. So that would make a big difference. But currently our government itself is in debt, so it's not like they can pay that IOU off. And I think, again, they need to make some other adjustments, and we are trusting or hoping that it takes place. Otherwise, your anticipated benefit could be, as an option, reduced to 75% of what you would be entitled to unless they make some adjustments prior to that. All right, so where does Social Security fit into your financial plan? Now, here's the kicker. Americans are living a lot longer. Out of those people in their mid-50s today, 33% of the males will live to age 90. 50% of the females will live to age 90. And there's a high probability of a married couple, one of them living at least to age 100. So going back to that slide of when it was implemented in 1935, and you couldn't get benefits till 65, but the average life expectancy was 65 and 8 months. They didn't plan on having to pay out as long as they are. But great, we're glad people are living longer. But that's why it complicates or needs to be dealt with when you're looking at your proactive game plan. You will need approximately 70-80% of your pre-retirement income to have a comfortable retirement. Now, again, comfort is up to your definition, but that's just kind of been the industry number that we've used. And for many retirees, Social Security is going to provide about 39% of that income. So the other 61%, if you need to have 80% of your pre-retirement income and only 39% of that's going to be Social Security, if you want to maintain the same kind of lifestyle or better, the additional funds have to come from what you do. It comes from your retirement savings. Now, one of the other changing dynamics is that the cost of living adjustment for Social Security went up 1.6% in 2020. I'd meant to update that for 2021. I can get that information to you. Again, it's been about in that area, but it isn't always every year, and it isn't always assumed. But what happened is they increased the cost of living, but then they adjusted the Medicare premium tax that is applied. So it kind of was like, well, I got a raise, but it went somewhere else and not in my back pocket. But again, I don't want to get too political. That's probably enough for today. So what about collecting Social Security? When am I eligible? When can I get benefits? Okay, well, again, that's based on your birth date, on your birth year. So if you were born in 1937 or earlier, your full retirement age was 65. Again, it was signed into law in 35. So that was the original full retirement benefit. Then in 1938, it became 65 and 2 months, 39, 65 and 4 months. Those that were born from 1943 to 1954, your full retirement age, which is what we see a lot of people now who are retiring, is that their benefit is they're not eligible for full retirement benefits until age 66. And then if you're born in 55, it's 66 and 2 months, 60, so on and so forth. They add 2 months for every year, so that for those that were born in 1960 and later, your full retirement age for benefits is age 67. For me, I was born in 1959, so I can get my full age, my full benefit retirement date is 66 and 10 months to get Social Security benefits. Now, when to start collecting? Selecting the best age to collect Social Security benefits is really based on several factors. Your health status, what is your life expectancy, what's your family history, what's your family's average life expectancy, the need for income, do you need it now, future income possibilities, do you have income that may come from other sources, what are any spousal benefits that may be available, any additional retirement assets or benefits, and then earnings or spouse's age and their earnings. All that goes into play. And if you look at where the major sources of retirement income comes from, 4% comes from other. 29%, which is kind of surprising to some people, 29% is coming from earnings. They're still planning on working in retirement. It's going to be more of a semi-retirement. 38%, as we stated earlier, comes from Social Security, 11% from savings and investments, and then 18% coming from pensions. Now, stop and just think about that. Do you have a pension available to you? I'm not talking about 401k. That would be your savings and investments. I'm talking about you work for a company so many years, and when you retire, they're going to continue your income based on your last 5 years of employment, your average years of work. Do you have one of those? Fewer and fewer people do, because more companies are going to the traditional 401k and not having a pension. So if you don't have that you really need to be looking at 29% then coming from your savings and investments. And then if you're not planning on working, the number just keeps coming to where now 60% has to come from your savings and investments. So you can't start early enough. It's never too late, but you can't start early enough. So unfortunately, that's probably needs to be targeted towards a different listener than today's virtual True Wealth virtual classroom. But just take a look at the numbers and let them soak in for where they are for you. So the benefits of delaying Social Security, let's talk about that. You can choose to keep working beyond your full retirement age, and if you do, you can increase your future Social Security benefits in two ways. As a rule of thumb, for every year you wait beyond, this is really just talking about not taking it at 62 and going up to the full age 67, but then there's an additional benefit of waiting until age 70, which is your maximum benefit. Technically, from your date of your eligibility, every year you can let it wait, your Social Security benefit will increase by about 8% per year. Now, there is more that goes into that, and we'll elaborate on that. But if each extra year that you work adds another year of earnings to your Social Security. So again, assuming that you were born in 1960 and your full age retirement is 67, if you decided to choose and elect to take benefits at age 62, you're going to receive 70% of your full benefit. And your spousal benefit, any full benefit for a spouse, then would be 32.5% of what your benefit would be, assuming they did not work outside the home. If you did that at 63, you're going to get 75%, 64, so on and so forth. So the working a little bit longer does have a long-lasting impact on your Social Security benefit. Now, again, I've had some people say to me, well, I want to get on the system before they take it away from me or before it goes broke. Certainly valid arguments. However, when it comes to your retirement, we got to think of your heirs, because applying early is going to limit, they may live longer, and you're going to be limiting their income sources. And the other thing to think about is, and this sounds a little crude, but really we're not worried about your income if you pass away early. I'm really more worried about your income if you live long. So making sure you have the right amount of income for the long-term plan is important. And that even goes beyond you. because there's a survivor benefit to your spouse. So you taking it early so you can get a benefit, you've just reduced the benefit they're eligible to receive should you pass away prematurely. So now, if you can make it work, or there's legitimate reasons, like I said, for health reasons or some of those other things we talked about, that certainly makes sense. Now, to not complicate things further, but remember that I said if the system runs out of money, currently on projections at 35, and they decide we're just going to reduce everybody's benefits by 75%, you got to keep in mind that the benefit you're receiving will be reduced to 75%. So delaying it, getting that higher benefit, the haircut will still be there, but it may not be quite as significant. That was a lot of talking on one slide, so we'll keep moving. This slide I don't want to spend a lot of time on, but again, the taxes on any IRA income, because that's deferred, and that's one of the sources that may be income for you. So when you look through the chart and you're saying, okay, if I have retirement income and it's at a tax rate of 25%, I got the tax on my IRA, but then also there's additional Social Security that may be subject to percentage of tax on Social Security income, depending if I file early. And I'm going to get into that. So there's really two items you got to think about. There's the what will my benefit be reduced, but then what are the tax consequences on my Social Security? And that second one, that probably irritates more Americans, more retirees, because the Social Security was a tax in the first place, and now they're going to tax your tax if you're making too much money. That's the way it is, but we want to make sure you at least are educated and know how it works. So every dollar that's delayed in Social Security that would be taxed, there is an economic benefit to do that. I'm going to elaborate on that in a little bit more detail. Okay, so now let's talk about working in Social Security and working in retirement. You can continue to work and still receive your retirement benefits, but there is a limit. Now, this is between age 62, so I'm assuming you wanted to retire, you take your Social Security benefits at 62 versus your full retirement age. So the limit on what you can earn in 2021, assuming you're not at full retirement age, is $18,960. If that's your last year, if that's your final year of retirement, at age 67, then there's a $50,520. So what do I mean by all this? All right. So your earnings in or after the month you reach full Social Security will reduce your Social Security benefits. So if I'm age 62 and I've really filed early, there's this how much I can earn before my full retirement at age 67 or whatever your day may be. Like for me, it's 66 and 10 months. For every $1, my benefit's going to be reduced by $1 for every $2 in earnings that I have that exceed that limit. And I forgot to change that last piece there. In 2021, it should say, not 2020, the limit is $18,960. In the year you reach your full retirement age, your benefits will be reduced for every $1 of every $3 you earn over $50,250 in that year. Now that's the benefit. That's the number in 2021. So again, if I take full retirement and I want to use calculation, and that's the number that goes into that. Now, once you reach your full retirement age, you can keep working and your Social Security benefit will not be reduced no matter how much you earn. These are just the calculations are that if I'm taking it early and I'm not going to earn income, how much income can I make before I lose my benefits? And these are the two issues from 62 to 60 to full retirement age. And then that last year, how much I can make. So again, we'll run those details for you and make them a little bit more specific. But if you think you're going to collect on Social Security and continue to work, every $2 you make over $18,960 while you're doing that, you're going to lose $1 of benefits. Now, technically, it's not like it goes into this black hole. They will recalculate your benefits at full retirement age, but you're going to be losing along the way. So, and then we're going to run into the taxation on Social Security, and it just becomes a stronger reason that if you're going to continue working and retire early or draw early on your Social Security benefits, there's a lot of things that go into making sure that that's the right decision for you. Collecting spousal benefits. Now, this applies to married couples who are age 62 plus. And a spouse is equal to 50% of your spouse's primary insurance amount, unless my benefit is higher. So, for example, you have a husband and wife. If or a couple, spouse A, spouse B, spouse A retires, spouse B, assuming they never earned any income, is entitled to part of their their spouse's earnings. Now, if if they did work and their earnings is higher than that, they will get their benefit. They don't get both. So you don't get to collect on yours and then your spouse collect on yours and then the spouse gets to collect on their own. There used to be some great games that was being played, but they did away with a lot of those things. So the question is going to be, as a spouse, is my benefit greater than 50% of my spouse's income? But that becomes into play from doing some planning. That suppose, like for example, in my situation, my wife doesn't have a high earnings level outside the home. We were fortunate to have her stay home with the kids during those years, so her earnings paid into Social Security is lower. Now, what we can do, though, is under the current law, without getting too complicated, is when I reach full retirement and I apply for my benefits, if she were to apply for her benefits, they're going to calculate and say, well, is her benefits greater than 50% of mine? If it's not, they're going to give her benefit, and then they're going to give her a stipend that brings her up to the 50% of my Social Security. Sounds complicated. It really isn't. We'll get into more of that specific for you. So if you collect prior to full retirement age, your adjusted spousal benefits, you got to remember, are also going to be reduced. So there's no annual increases if you defer collecting spousal benefits beyond full retirement. So there's really no advantage to defer on that end. So for my benefit, okay, if my benefit is age 66 and 10 months, and I choose not to start taking it, my benefit will continue to increase until I'm age 70. And then that's the maximum amount. And that it's like I get an 8% increase by deferring. But my spouse's benefit doesn't increase beyond my full retirement amount. So even if at age 70, I choose to receive my benefits then, I'm going to get my maximum payment. My spouse, when she then applies for her spousal benefit, she's going to get the 50%, roughly the 50% of what my benefit would have been when I was 66 and 10 months. Okay, so it's not like she gets the 50% of at age 70. She gets it at my full retirement age. So that's kind of a little bit of things that we run into people that they don't think of that. They get to 70 and they think, oh, how come my wife's benefit isn't now 50% of mine? It's because that number is calculated on your full retirement age. Your benefit can be calculated if you decide to defer until age 70. Hopefully that makes sense. It sounded more complicated when it came out, but I hope you made sense. If not, send me a question and email at info@pinnaclewealth.com, and I'll get you an answer. Spousal benefit information should be updated based on the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015. Not everyone is eligible for a spousal benefit. For example, like I said, if your own benefit is higher, previously somebody could claim a spousal benefit, and then allow theirs to grow until they filed for their own, which was really kind of a cool trick. So, for example, we get to be age 66 and 10 months. I would have my wife file for her benefits. It's not much. I could collect on as a spousal on hers, and then switch over to mine when I got to before retirement. If we were both earning wages, that even became a better thing, because say my benefit was $2,000 a month and hers was $1,800 a month. I could file. She could file for her benefit. I could then file against hers. She'd get the $1,800. I'd get approximately $900. Let mine grow and then switch over to mine for retirement. Well, the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015 did away with a lot of those games. But that doesn't mean that there's still not a lot of options and a lot of things that you need to talk through. So it's not it's simpler, but there's still some really, really good decisions that you have to make, and important decisions. So collecting survivor benefits. You must be married at least 9 months prior to the spouse's death in order to collect. This is for survivor benefits. The amount depends on when your spouse began collecting Social Security benefits. If your spouse passes prior to collecting Social Security, surviving benefits will be 100% of your spouse's PIA. Now, PIA is primary insurance amount. And what is that? That's the amount I would receive at my full retirement benefit based on my current pay history. Okay. So what's the timelines for Social Security? All right. So let's take a look at this. At 59 and a half, we're just going to run through some different ages. There are no penalties or restrictions on withdrawing from your retirement plans. So that's something to consider. I can start drawing income from my retirement income at age 59 and a half. 60 is the first year that survivors can collect a Social Security benefit if a spouse or ex-spouse has died. Again, that's spouse or ex-spouse. We'll elaborate on that more if that's the situation that applies to you. Age 62, that's the earliest age that someone could collect Social Security retirement benefits. And that's the common age when the pension benefits kick in. 65. The Medicare, this is when your eligibility for Medicare. You can sign up for Medicare, but most people should sign up within 7 months of your birthday for the Medicare benefits. That's the healthcare portion, the Medicare healthcare portion for retirees. 66, that's the age when many options become available to you apply for your Social Security. And that's going to be the age at which most boomers hit their retirement, their full retirement, or their PIA, their full retirement age. And then it just depends if you're when you were born. Number 60, age 67, that now is the current full retirement age for anybody born 1960 or later. Age 70, this is the age at which there's no additional benefits in delaying filing. So you might as well file at age 70. If you haven't filed yet, you have maximized your lifetime Social Security benefit if you were able to wait till age 70. Age 72, that's what they call now the RMD stage. That's the year, the age of which you have to begin taking retirement when all retirement account owners are required to start taking distributions. It's referred to as the required minimum distribution, or the RMDs. And that's determined by the amount of money that you have in retirement, and it's based on your life expectancy. So you can kind of see by getting people to delay until age 70, at age 72, all your retirement income needs to start coming in. Your taxable income is going to probably be high, which now they've implemented that there's a possibility that your Social Security can become taxable. Again, that's the one that irritates a lot of retirees, and we'll talk about that. So how to maximize your Social Security? Work until your full retirement age. That's one of the best ways to do that. Work after you start collecting. Be careful with this one, though, as part of your benefits will be withheld if you're collecting early and still working. If you collect early and not, you'll just get your Social Security benefit. You don't necessarily need to worry about that, the reduction at that. Claim your survivor benefits. If your deceased spouse had a benefit that was larger than yours, you could inherit that benefit, and make sure you're aware of that. Make sure that you're being smart about, tax smart with your benefits. Your benefits can be taxed if you're making too much money. Now, the goal isn't to make so little that you don't have to pay on your Social Security, but how you structure your retirement income and trying to make sure there are ways to do that in a tax-efficient manner not only will help you reduce the possibility of your Social Security getting taxed up to 85%, and all that will give you more income for your cash flow. So the key kind of is to run your numbers, to plan for retirement. And retirement is more than just Social Security. It includes pensions and 401k plans. It's personalized for every individual. Like I said, it's as personal to you as your thumbprint. Leverage your personal and your family assets so that you can meet your financial goals in retirement by planning early and working, with your wealth advisor. If you would like us to run we have some great Social Security software that we can run an analysis, submit to compliance for approval, and then provide it to you. It's a great analyzer to say, here's what your total lifetime benefits would be. Here's the recommendations of applying early, delaying the benefit, delaying it all the way to age 70, so you can see what the difference is from your retirement income streams. Now, it's not just as simple as, sometimes you go to a lot of workshops and then they run the calculation and say, okay, you should wait till 70 and a half. There's a lot more that goes involved with that. It depends on, again, life expectancy. It depends on how much other income you have. And do you need to retire or want to retire at your full retirement age for Social Security eligibility. What we want to do is run the numbers for you, and then we should run the different scenarios of you retiring, you taking your Social Security benefit, like for me, 66 and 10 months. Maybe I want to see it at 68. What do I look like when my benefit maxes at 70? And do I need to pull from other investments to make that work? And what's that going to, what effect, when's my break even down the road? We'll help you do all that, but you just got to give us a call at 271-6023 or toll free at 866-575-2500. You can email me or email us at info@pinnaclewealth.com and put your Social Security questions in the subject line. That way we know specifically that you're probably receiving that by watching or attending one of these True Wealth virtual classrooms. But again, like I said, you need to have a financial plan, and it's not just as simple as running your Social Security analysis. It's with those numbers, how does it impact my plan? And putting the two together. That's one of the important things that I hope you take away from this presentation. Now, I don't have too many changes, at least in Social Security for 2021, but let's just look at what they did in 2020. Beneficiaries, like I said, they would likely see an increase of 1.6 in their payments. The maximum taxable earnings would be increased to $137,700. The full retirement age continued to increase. Earnings limits will continue to increase, and Social Security disability thresholds would also increase. So there's continual things that they're making adjustments. But like I said, we're offering to run a Social Security analysis for you so you can have a better understanding of your options and how much you can take out of the system, depending on when you choose to elect receiving your benefit. We've had people come in and they're so committed to getting to Social Security without giving enough thought to the long-term effect, or people so committed to waiting until age 70 that they retire early and then they burn through all their other assets just to get that higher benefit at age 70 and a half. There's more that needs to be thought through. I suggest letting us run your Social Security analysis and then combine those numbers into your financial plan. If you don't have one, we'll help you construct one so that you can see the effects of the different Social Security elections and the effect of withdrawals from your other income-producing assets. It's an important decision and one not to be taken lightly. Take the time to do a complete review analysis so that you can live your life by design and not default. I just want to thank you so much for attending. I hope you find these things at least educational and of value to you. Again, for your convenience, you can email me questions at 605, or email questions at info@pinnaclewealth.com, or you can simply contact us by calling us directly at 605-271-6023 or toll free at 866-575-2500. And we're here. Our goal is to be your most trusted resource for financial advice. Again, my name is Kevin Engbers. I'm a CEO, wealth advisor, and founder at Pinnacle Wealth in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We hope you'll give us a call. We'd love to provide you more answers and to your specific questions. I needed to talk a little bit longer to leave our important disclosure page up. And again, if there's anything we can do to be of service, we're here to help. Have a great day, and we look forward to talking to you soon.